The year is 2005, and a young 27-year-old walks into WrestleMania 21, the grandest stage of them all, and walks out with the richest prize in the game. On his way to becoming the public face of the company for the next decade plus. That man is Jonathan Felix Anthony Cena. And today on Squared Post Podcast, we are going to be discussing his rise to the top and his fight to stay on the top against many enemies. Because for a great hero to succeed, there needs to be a great villain. As always, I'm Daniel, and that's Sam. Sam, how are you doing today?
Doing good. I'm excited for today's show. Cena was a guy that was my hero growing up. Like he genuinely, I mean this, like he made the spinner belt. Like he made the spinner belt what it is today, and we're going to talk about it a lot during this show because, like I said, he made the belt. He made what the greatest belt of all time.
Yes,
I know some people in the comments are gonna be like, "Oh, that this is a hot take, this and that," but no,
yeah.
this belt was just everything. I might be telling a story a little bit later about the spinner belt.
We'll get into the spinner belt a little bit later because, like, you can't talk about John Cena without talking about the spinner belt.
Yeah,
because
both spinner belts, the US and WWE.
John Cena really did his own thing, didn't he? I mean, he walked a very fine line in that he did his own thing, but he was also the very, very clear cut. I don't want to say cookie cutter, but cookie cutter.
Yeah,
corporate
which
guy
is why he was so polarizing near the end.
Yes, I think from the time around like maybe 2007, maybe a little bit earlier, but until the end of his like original run.
His original full-time run.
Yes.
Like around 2014-15.
Yes, he was the most polarizing guy in the business. And then he left and he handed the baton to Roman Reigns, who we'll talk about later.
Who's even more polarizing today.
Yes. But yeah,
because his career so far is another discussion in itself.
Yes. But today we're going to be talking about John Cena, and we also, I don't want to say they made him, but I don't think John Cena would be as popular today if it wasn't for some of these guys, because they really helped him. Let's say helped. Yeah. They helped him define who he is.
I agree 100%.
Because Batman's nobody if the Joker never existed.
Exactly.
Superman would still be Superman, but he won't be Superman without Lex Luthor.
Yeah, and like for a sports example, like the Montreal Canadiens wouldn't be without the Boston Bruins, or vice versa.
Yes, Tom Brady and well, they didn't make each other, but like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning brought out the best in each other, I would say.
Yeah.
For a football example, and also I did pick these guys for a reason. Like on the graph, on the thumbnail, if you look at the thumbnail, we have The Rock, we have Brock Lesnar, we have Edge, we have Orton, we have Hunter, and then we have CM Punk. And I picked these guys because I feel like they all were represent a different era for Cena. Cena was just crowned when he and Edge first started facing off. So Cena was the new face of the company at the time, because back then it was a different landscape to it was today. Yeah. Lesnar was gone. Lesnar was doing football. Goldberg left. Stone Cold couldn't wrestle anymore.
Yeah. Rock was practically gone.
Yeah, he was
gone. He was there via satellite, but that's it.
Yeah. Kurt Angle was doing Kurt Angle, but he was still like,
he had just left to go to TNA.
Yes. So they need to be a new face of the company. And as much as we all like the guys like Rey Mysterio, Shelton Benjamin, those
Jericho was
guys,
a baby face at the time as well.
yes, that Jericho, like none of them they could run they could like hold take the company's baton and run with it,
Yeah,
but like they weren't like
yeah,
as popular as Cena.
yeah.
And
And,
so
you were saying,
and we saw that when he beat JBL, like him and
yeah,
Batista were the faces and they were the new faces. But for
yeah,
every new face, you need, because otherwise it's just guys earning through people.
yeah,
And that stops getting entertaining in John Cena's case after about a year.
yeah,
And here comes Edge, the
yeah.
newly minted heel. And
Mm-hmm.
we don't have to get into Edge. Edge is a whole episode on
Yeah,
himself. But like he
yeah.
was the bad guy.
We'll just preface this, that the whole Hardy discussion and all that
Yes.
will be in a different show. But
Yes.
he had just come off this at this point in time.
Yeah, he was the hardest heel because like people want him dead. Like they thought he was
Yeah.
they thought he was okay. They thought he was scumbag, pretty much.
Yeah.
And he had the money in the back. He had the money in the back contract.
One.
Yes, and he cashed that in, and that began its whole entire saga, where John Cena and Edge were pretty much just chasing after each other. One had the title, the other one wanted it. One had the title, the other one wanted it. Edge slapped John Cena's dad.
I was gonna bring that up.
Yes,
that moment is what's funny to me is like Edge later on, after that, like just a few years ago, like right before the pandemic, actually, he said he had a sit down interview with Kenny McIntosh, and he was talking about some specific stories. He was talking about how Vince had a boat called the Sexy Bitch, and he was also talking about one particular story, especially talking about this segment in particular. He was saying that all the noises that he made, that was being made during all that, was live from Raw. So what happened? They pre-taped it, but what Cena's dad was doing, he was acting like this 30s TV dad and all thing, and Vince was like, "Goddamn, pal, you can't do that." So he had Edge record it from TV, and everything you heard was coming from Edge's mouth.
Nice.
Like just Edge just talking shit and just being that shitty heel. He made the slap. He did everything live off the floor, which I thought was very funny.
Edge is a good character. Like Edge is smart about the business. Like he knows what to do. When he was a heel, he knew what to do to get people to boo him. When he was a face, he knew what to do to get people to cheer him. He and Cena are very smart about the business.
Yeah.
And, but like that rivalry was like the TLC match. Like we didn't even start talking about the TLC match, where Edge was undefeated in TLC at that point. So he was just like, "Yep, I got this in the bag." And then, as referenced by Edge in a later promo that we will also talk about because it's very important in this specific saga,
this point in time,
as well as another feud, Cena beat him. Cena added to adjust to him to 2 tables and beat him in a TLC. And I just have some quick notes. The first one-on-one match they had was that New Year's Revolution match in 2006, where Edge beat him for the title. But in 2002, Edge was part of the SmackDown 6. In 2002, John Cena was a brand new babyface on the scene. Those two did team up together. And And also, the first actual match was the Royal Rumble in 2006, where Cena beat Edge for
Yeah.
the title again, which was also a great match because, like,
Yeah.
these two are great professionals. Say what you want about John Cena. Say he has 5 moves. I don't disagree.
Yeah.
He does know how to wrestle.
Yeah. He damn right he does. And he to me, those 5 moves made his career. Like
He did. He knew what
his moves being predictable made his career essentially.
the mark of a, in my opinion. Well, okay. I want to preface this by saying, like, Brett versus Sean, I'm for Brett because I value in-ring work versus character work.
Yeah.
But one
Which,
thing
by
cannot,
the way, Brett is the GOAT.
yes. But one thing you cannot take away from these guys is they're smart. They know what to do to get by. Now, there's a point where that becomes problematic.
Yeah.
But Cena didn't never reach that point, in my opinion. He knew what to do. He knew how to. He did it well.
Yeah. And Cena, of course, is known for catering to kids and stuff like that, especially later on in his career, which we'll get into a little bit. But
later.
Like I said at the top of the show, Cena was a guy that we both grew up on, and like he
shaped the childhood of us. Yes, he shaped our childhood.
Yeah, him, like, especially this rivalry with Edge. Like, I hated Edge.
I want
as
Edge
a kid.
dead. Especially during his Vicky Guerrero thing, I just like.
Yes. Edge and Vicky on SmackDown around 2008 was something else, man.
It was awkward and weird, and like I just wanted to stop. And then he retired, and then I was like, oh no, Edge is cool. But we'll talk, like I said before, we can talk all day about Edge.
Yeah.
But this is about Cena. Speaking of which, we should probably go back in time a little bit. We started off back in after 2006. Maybe we should go back to, let's say, 2002, where 4 OVW kids are getting ready for the big stage.
And those 4 guys are John Cena, Randall Keith Orton, the Animal Drax Batista, and the
next big thing,
the only Brock Lesnar.
Yes.
Which those 4 guys ended up becoming the 4 stars of our childhood.
Yeah, OVW, the OVW4, the class of
Also, I gotta shout out before we keep going into this OVW talk. I just want to get a big shout out to Shelton Benjamin, who was another part of that class and who's highly underrated.
Shelton is probably one of the top 10 underrated guys of his generation. Sure. Shelton can do everything.
Yeah.
I mean,
he can even have a feud with me again.
Yes. And I don't want to spend too much time on it. I think everybody knows the story where Vince McMahon got everyone in the ring together and said, he didn't say this, but he essentially said,
said it, yeah.
The Attitude Era is dead. I want some ruthless aggression. And then lo and behold, Kurt Angle has an open challenge. And who answers it? Jonathan Felix Anthony Cena. And what are his first words? Yes.
He didn't say it like Vince, but
yes, ruthless aggression.
He came into Kurt's face and said it. He might have even spit on him.
Yes. And while we're on the topic of ruthless aggression, I want to get back to, we're going to get back to Cena. I want to take like a detour a little bit.
Yeah.
You know who else used the words ruthless aggression? Carmelo Hayes, one of the future stars of NXT. But that's another topic for a different day, which we will probably get to in a couple of weeks. But yeah, John Cena came in. He fought Kurt Angle. He got a handshake from Undertaker. And we were off to the races. We didn't know that. No one. Well, I wasn't watching wrestling at the time. I was like,
me neither.
But I don't think anybody at the time thought that this. Hold on. he was 25-year-old,
Yeah,
25-year-old.
just about, yeah.
Yeah, 25-year-old
'Cause
kid would become the face of WWE because at that time you had Kurt Angle, Undertaker, Kane, RVD, Shawn Michaels was about to return. You had Hunter. Uh, you had The Rocks, who was
Yeah.
kind of full time. You had
Yeah,
Steve Austin.
yeah, both Steve and Rock were starting to
Yeah, they were kind of faded out, but at the time,
Yeah.
I don't think people really knew what was about to happen.
Yeah.
You had
Like-
Flair,
like
who,
like Austin didn't have the match in 03 with Rock
yes,
and all
I-
that stuff.
yeah, I think people kind of had an idea, but they didn't. They thought they still had Rock and Austin for a few years.
Yeah.
You had Eddie Guerrero, Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, Eddie was
But-
still alive.
What I'm trying to say is that 2002 SmackDown Raw was an unbelievable class
Yeah.
of great wrestlers.
And this
So-
was Big Evil Taker too.
Yes.
This wasn't the Taker that we know now as a piece of
Deadman.
shit.
Yes. Yes. I don't know. I don't think we're allowed to say it on the podcast, but whatever. But my point is that
Anyway,
yes. If you were watching back then, I don't think you would expect this 25-year-old to have the place in the industry he does right now.
Yeah.
Because he almost did.
Yeah, he almost
Everyone
got
has-
fired.
Yes, everyone. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have heard the story, but if you haven't, the story goes: John Cena in the early days, not high on personality. He was just more like I'm gonna wrestle. I'm wearing pink, red shorts, and then I'm just gonna wrestle. Put me in whoever you want. I can wrestle them. And Vince was like, "Great, what's your character?" And nobody could tell Vince. So Vince was like, maybe we should let this guy go. And then the story goes that at a party or somewhere, Stephanie McMahon walked in on John Cena rapping. Stephanie
Yeah.
thought it was great. And that became his character. And it was a great character.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I'm going to preface this by saying this is post prototype. Like he had just come off doing the prototype in OVW.
Yeah.
He debuted in 2002 on SmackDown against Kurt Angle. Then he went on to have the infamous rapper segment after Stephanie found that out.
Yes.
He was dressed up as Vanilla Ice in that infamous segment, and
Yeah, we
he
don't have to talk about
rapped
that
and
segment. Yeah.
needless to say, it's a pretty big moment in his career.
Yeah, the jersey started with that. Like he would always wear a jersey, and I think before his hustle, loyalty, respect shirt, his jerseys were the thing people associated with him the most.
Yeah.
We also have to talk about his jokes, but we'll talk about that later when we get to that.
Yeah.
So with the rapping gimmick, John Cena, even as a heel, he experienced a boost of personality. I mean, not a boost of popularity and personality, but that's a whole nother topic. And that is when he would see this man next. I'm talking about one of the OVW4. Brock. I can't do Paul Heyman. Sorry. But
Brock
Yeah.
Lesnar.
I knew you could do that if I gave you it. So that's why I was just like, their first one-on-one match was in 2002. September 17th, 2002, where Lesnar, of course, beat Cena because, like, at the time, and now, like we said before, now a lot was expected of John Cena.
Yeah.
A lot was expected of Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar got
Yeah.
Paul Heyman. Brock Lesnar got the nickname, the next big thing. Brock Lesnar got squashes. Brock Lesnar could run through anybody he wanted to, and he looked the part because, once again, this was a different era.
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was a steroid era, but it was just coming off that. Vince was just like, he's still like the beefy guy.
They were just 15 years after that.
Yes. Where Vince, like the beefy guys, you wanted to get a push, you wanted to get signed to WWE in the first place. You better have like 20 pounds of muscle mass on you, at least.
Yeah.
At the very least.
And at least be 6'3". 3.
Yes, yes. It was a different time back then.
Yeah,
We are still might be in the time according to some people, but like
half and half.
yes, like Vince likes what he likes. Like we all know Vince likes what he
Yeah,
likes. So
it's infamous at this point. It's legend.
yes, yes. And so he might not be that willing to move off of that, but like a guy like Carmelo Hayes could do well.
Yeah,
Yes. And again, NXT is a whole different video.
yeah,
But yeah, they saw each other a few times. They had that feud where Brock was the babyface, Cena was the heel because Brock had just been turned on by Paul
yeah,
Heyman. So yeah, they had that whole feud, and then Brock left. He decided, you know what?
yeah.
I'm going to see what else is out there for me, and he tried
And
for the
before he
NFL.
left, he F5'd a shark.
Yes, yeah. Oh, that commercial is still great, by the way.
Yeah,
That commercial still holds up. But yeah, Brock was like, I want to do football. Like I've done everything there is to do here, pretty much. I want to do football.
yeah,
And then football didn't work out, so it was just like Japan. And then he had the whole thing in Japan that no one really needs to discuss. But he had that thing. And then
but needless to say, Brock and Shinsuke know each other.
Yes. Yes. But then he decided UFC, and he did pretty damn well in the UFC.
Yeah.
If I should.
This man had a success there. And granted, if it wasn't for him, I think people like around our age, I don't think would have known what the UFC was.
Yeah, like Brock and Bobby were probably my first 2 UFC wrestlers I knew, because Bobby Lashley.
Bobby didn't even go to UFC.
Yeah,
he
Bobby.
went to Bellator.
I mean MMA. I meant
yeah,
MMA.
just MMA in general.
Yeah. But yeah. So Brock did MMA, UFC. He did pretty damn good. And then Vince was like, "Do you want to do that? Except not really, and you get a lot of money." And Brock was like, "Book me a flight." So Vince did. And in 2012,
the night after the show that we're going to be reviewing next week.
Yes. Right after Cena faced another guy we're about to talk about soon. John Cena was like, he lost. I don't think it's a spoiler. John Cena lost to The Rock. I don't think that's a spoiler either. So he was doing what John Cena did after losses. And he was in the ring cutting formal, being like, yeah, you won. I want to come out here. Let's talk. And instead of The Rock, it was Brock.
And the pop that he got.
Yeah.
And I still go to YouTube and watch fan reactions of that. Because that pop, like it's something else.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I was just watching it recently. But Brock came back after 8 years. Yeah, 8 years.
Yeah.
And man, he was loved. Because again, this was Super Cena, which we'll discuss a little later when we talk about like Cena as a whole. And people, I don't want to say they hated John Cena. They didn't love him.
Started to at that point.
And like everybody loved Brock.
Yeah, this was a full-on polarizing John Cena era. Like when you think about John Cena being a polarizing figure in WWE, in professional wrestling, sports entertainment, whatever the hell you want to call it, 2012 is a perfect example of that.
Yes, Kane embraced the hate.
Yeah.
But
I remember Cena attitude adjusting Kane in Abu Dhabi. I remember seeing that video on YouTube when it first came out and went, no way. My 12-year-old self was mind blown.
I remember Kane tossing Zack Ryder out of his wheelchair off the ramp.
Matt Cardona's career in WWE is going to be a separate.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about Zack Ryder. We don't have to talk about John Cena and Eve. We're talking about Brock Lesnar and how everybody liked Brock Lesnar back in 2012 because it had been 8 years. And no matter what, if you're gone for a long period of time, people will cheer when you come back.
Yeah.
That's how it goes. People loved
Yeah.
John Cena when he came back.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that at the end because, like, I think
Yeah, because it's more recent.
yeah. But yeah, Brock Lesnar came back. He did Brock Lesnar things to John Cena, just to put it lightly.
Yeah.
Then he went to the pay-per-view.
Extreme Rules
Yes. And
beat the fuck out
yes,
of Cena.
yes. But in the end, uh, this is actually an interesting story, and I'm going to talk about it because, like, I don't think it's verified what I'm about to say, but pretty much Cena won.
Yeah.
Cena won, and from what we heard at the time was that Brock was pissed. He wasn't pissed that Cena won. He knew Cena
No.
was going to win. He was
Yeah.
pissed because Cena got on the mic and cut a promo. Because
Oh, yeah.
because from
I
what
know
I
where you're going
understand,
with that.
yes, we have to talk about it. It's important in the Brock Cena
Mhm.
feud. The Brock was going to beat up Cena. Cena was still going to win, but Cena was going to be off of TV because he had to, I think, film something, or he was just injured. He needed time
Yeah,
off.
I think he might have been filming the first 12 runs at that point.
Yeah. So yeah, he was
That
going to.
that timeline seems to line up.
Yes. And as always, we could be wrong. And if you're wrong, just let us know.
Yeah.
We're pretty
Let us
open
know
to
in the
being wrong.
comments.
Yes, we're pretty open to like fixing our mistakes.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cena was going to be gone. So next week on TV, Brock Lesnar, Paul Heyman, they were going. I don't think Paul Heyman probably was there with them at the time. They were going to go on and say, "We lost the battle, we won the war. Where's your hero, John Cena?" Instead, Cena got on the mic and cut a promo. Now, I'm not sure if this is true or not. This is just what we heard at the time. But that happened. And while Cena was gone, Brock Lesnar dominated. Even while Cena was there, Brock Lesnar was dominating.
Yeah. He had a match, I'm going to say, with trying to think.
Triple H. That was the feud going on
around SummerSlam, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that lines up.
Yeah.
Because Cena came back a little bit before SummerSlam.
Yeah. But yeah, it's Triple H and Brock. We're going to talk about Triple H too, but yeah. But Brock and Cena, I feel it's important to highlight because, like we did with Edge, Brock didn't necessarily bring out a different side of Cena, but it was a different feud.
Yeah.
Because with the other guys, with Triple H, with Edge, with Punk, with Orton, even with Batista, with Miz, those two guys, they were kind of on equal footing now.
Yeah.
But with Brock Lesnar, he was outmatched. Like, I love John Cena.
Yeah.
But
Brock was on
another planet.
Yeah.
At that time.
He was, as the WWE 2K22 motto is going, he hit different. And boy, did he.
Yes. And also, it was also interesting because we don't normally see John Cena working from under. Like someone said around the Kevin Owens
Cena rarely chases.
Yeah, in 2015, someone said it. John Cena feuds are predictable. You can get one of John Cena. You're not going to get the second. You're not going to get the third. And like, we don't see Cena outmatched unless it's Mark Henry.
Yeah.
And Mark Henry should have won that. But that's another topic.
Yeah.
But like, Cena never fights from under. Cena fights from the same level. So seeing someone like Brock come in and have his way,
and especially after the Nexus stuff, that really ramped up.
Yes, Cena, like, you know what you're gonna get with Cena. Is my point.
Yeah,
but Brock was like, "How about this?" And that's why I think this feud is so interesting because they did see another side of John Cena. I think.
Yeah. So more chaser.
Yes.
A more underdog.
Yes.
Type mentality from him.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to him being like, the champ is here, and I beat so and so in this amount of time, and I'm the champ, and like, I'm Super Cena do and all that stuff.
Yes, yes. So it was an interesting dynamic to see from John Cena, where he was just like, where like even as kids, like I was what
Yeah,
14 when Lesnar returned,
yeah.
they had that match. It was still big. It was because all my experience was like the Orton feud, pretty much. We'll talk about the Orton feud later, but like the
Mhm.
Orton feud was a big part of Cena back at the time. So it
Yeah.
was the um, but yeah, it was an interesting dynamic. You have any final thoughts about Lesnar Cena?
Hmm. I want to mention that building up towards that that feud, uh, Edge Edge came back for one night.
Oh, sorry, I've got to mention that. Yes, yes, that's why I chose the picture that I did. So, do you mind if
Yeah,
I? Because, like, actually, yeah, you can go on. I'll say
I
it
was
after.
gonna say, Edge came in. He had a new haircut and basically looked like how I look like now, just blonde. And
I don't like it.
he basically talked about how he had fought and
He had
done
verbally.
everything
Yes,
with Cena, and
yes.
he wanted Cena to be that Cena that he whipped his ass all over Boston for. He he wanted the John Cena that beat Randy Orton. He wanted the John Cena that that
Went into his hometown and beat Edge in a TLC match.
yeah, which that's what I was gonna say,
Yeah,
which is what I was trying to say. And so basically, Cena like kind of fired back, if I
yes.
remember correctly.
Oh yeah, because that was around the time of John Laurinaitis.
Mhm.
Yes, Edge
And they
verbally
mentioned him in the promo, right? If I
uh,
remember
be,
correctly.
because the whole premise was that John did not like Cena, so John was
Yeah,
helping Brock Lesnar. The whole premise was, if I remember correctly, Cena and Brock was supposed to have an contract signing, and
yeah,
John Laurinaitis came out and was like, "Yeah, Brock's not here, so I don't know what you want me to do. Brock's not here. You're out of luck." And then Edge came out, and Laurinaitis got mad, and Edge was like, "Yeah, shut up. I'm here. Bye. We don't need you anymore. Goodbye." And then he just looked at Cena and was like, "Okay, who are you? Because you look a lot like someone I used to know, but you don't act like someone I used to know." And the whole premise of the promo was like, if Brock Lesnar wins, the real wrestlers are done. Because Edge was trying to point out that like whatever Edge and Cena did, they did for the love of the business.
yeah,
And we know Edge and Cena love the bit, like especially Edge.
yeah.
Like
Edge, especially Edge and Christian Cage. Those two guys
they,
love this
you,
business.
if someone comes back from a concussion, if someone comes back from neck issues, if someone comes back from whatever else, you do not get to question their love of the business because that is not money. That is,
100%.
I did not get to finish on my own terms. There's something gnawing at me in the back of my head. I need to do what I need to do. Unless they're broke, in which case that's a whole different story. Some people
Yeah,
should really retire at this point, but that's not what we're talking about when we talk about Edge and Christian. We're talking about guys
yeah,
that love the business, that want to do right, buy it in the end. But yeah, but Edge's point was that Brock was like a mercenary. He was a mercenary at the point,
yeah,
and so he was just like, does this get me money? Sure. I don't think at this point we can question Brock's love of the business because
yeah,
less like he was set for, he said it himself. Like what,
yeah,
at WrestleMania 36, he considered himself retired. Vince came calling, he came back.
yeah,
Vince needs to stop calling, by the way, but that's a different topic for a different day.
yeah,
But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you there. But yeah, that's pretty much the premise of the promo, that Edge wanted Cena to wake up.
yeah. And I think when you look at Cena's 2012, I think that's definitely that the Brock debut in that segment, I think are two hot starts in his
Yes.
year.
Yes. because like those were besides the whole Rock thing, which
we'll get into a little bit later.
yeah, we'll get talk about that later. But like those two defined his 2012, which was
Yeah.
he was in a position no one had ever seen him before.
Yeah.
He was the underdog. What should we talk about? He was the underdog.
Yeah.
But speaking of the underdog, you know when else he was an underdog? Back all the way in 2005. And we will keep doing this throughout the episode.
Yeah.
We'll keep going back and
We'll
forth.
go back and forth to tell the full story.
Yes, because John Cena's career is very interesting.
Long.
And long, yes. Interesting and long. But yeah,
Man's been wrestling for almost 25 years.
In 2005, there was this champion. I don't know if you ever heard of him. He has a really long reign that not a lot of people enjoyed. John Bradshaw Layfield. Your thoughts on the man from Texas?
My thoughts on Mr. John Bradshaw Layfield, the WWE Hall of Famer. I would say that John, for the most part, did his job well. I'd say to me, that win over him made John Cena. To me, that win over John Bradshaw Layfield, over JBL in Los Angeles, I'd like to think is the start of like the Cena era that we knew growing up.
Yeah.
Like we knew once we first watched TV and saw professional wrestling, like this guy is the face of this company. We knew that John Cena was going to be the guy for as long as Vince wanted, which granted that ended up being 25 years.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Almost. Like at least 22.
Yeah. Like you were saying, I think it cemented him, not cemented, but it like you could tell this was the guy Vince liked. Yeah, you could tell this was the guy because like I forgot who said this, and it's going to bug me. One of the last times before maybe 2020 that you could say Vince created stars, WrestleMania 21, John Cena and Batista. They became stars that night. And Batista, like I love Batista. Like
we all do.
Yes, Batista's the man.
Dude's a friggin' movie star right now.
He's like, probably probably the best actor. That
came out of nowhere.
Yeah, and he's probably the best actor of the like. I love John Cena. I love The Rock. But before Peacemaker, John Cena and The Rock played John Cena and The Rock.
Yeah.
Peacemaker's great though. But
shout out to the Peacemaker dance.
Yeah. But for all we say about him, and I say a lot about him. I think Farouk Ron Simmons was the better one of APA, but that's a story for another day.
For various reasons.
Yes, Bradshaw Layfield winning the belt over John Bradshaw Layfield helped Cena establish that he was 100%.
There. I think, like I was saying earlier, as Cena winning the belt was meant to be. I think when you look at his career now, and you mention WrestleMania 21, to me, him holding that undisputed title, and with all the fans around him, is like the same visual to me as, let's say, Jon Moxley winning the AEW championship at Revolution 2020. I think those visuals are similar.
Yeah, it was a moment in time.
Yeah.
WrestleMania 21 was definitely a moment in time.
Yeah, it's a moment in time that if you ask people our age, most people are gonna bring that up.
That is also okay. I'll just say it now. I was gonna talk about the later when we talk about his legacy, but I think people forget that at 2005, 2004, 2005, there was a lot of fans leaving. They
Yeah.
didn't become, some of them didn't become fans during the Attitude Era, but a lot did. And so
Mhm.
as the WWE was
And all
like,
those left to go.
yeah, they left elsewhere as Vince and his vision for the brand changed. Those people left elsewhere. But because of guys like John Cena, who was like,
Mhm.
who kids loved. No
Yeah.
one, no one can dispute that. Kids loved him. He brought new
As a
fans.
yeah, as
So
a kid
that
growing up, most likely, if you were in our age group,
you love John Cena. John
yeah,
Cena was the man. But
yeah,
that's but like
John
let's
Cena even like around this time had a guest spot on Hannah Montana. Like to me, him being on
I
Hannah
remember
Montana
that
was
guest spot. I remember that
everything
guest spot.
as a
Yeah.
kid.
He was everywhere. I think he was even on the Parks and Rec finale. Not the
Yeah, that
finale, but
was
he was
later
in,
on.
yeah, he was in. But John Cena was probably after The Rock, he was the closest thing to a megastar the WWE had.
100%.
And we'll talk about that later too, because I have
Because
thoughts about that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a
but
whole discussion
yes,
in itself that we'll get into a little bit later
yes,
on during the show. But I just want to say, Cena around this time was starting to boom. Cena
yes.
became a star. Like you were saying, John Cena and Batista that night at WrestleMania 21
They became stars.
became, yeah, they became stars of each brand. Like Cena was the face of Monday Night Raw, and Batista was the face of Friday Night SmackDown.
You know who wasn't so thrilled? Batista was the face of Friday Night SmackDown, at least in storyline. A man with three H's, Hunter Hearts Helmsley. And
Yeah,
would you know it? He wasn't so thrilled about John Cena either.
no, but he was certainly wasn't thrilled that he had to work Tuesdays.
That I was gonna mention when we were talking about Jordan Bradshaw, but yeah, that promo by Paul Heyman. We will talk about Paul Heyman and
Yeah,
ECW in a little bit when we talk about when the tide started shifting against John Cena, because
yeah,
that moment is another moment that.
yeah.
But back to Triple H.
That show should be a review in itself.
Yes, Triple H. Mm.
What can you say
But
about the guy that
have no
already
idea.
hasn't been said?
Yeah.
I mean, he's the father of NXT. He's the COO of the company.
Yeah.
Man's been
And
bald for 10 years.
yeah. And okay, I'll start by saying this. His dynamic with Cena was interesting because
Yeah,
Triple H never figured out if he was heel or face. And the problem with that is
yeah,
he excelled at both roles. Like
yeah.
John Cena excels as a face, Randy Orton excels as a heel. So
Mhm.
you should keep one as a heel, one as a face, although one's a face now, but we don't have to get into that.
Yeah.
But a guy like CM Punk, who Triple
Mhm.
H hates, and a guy like Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels during his
Yeah,
second run, he was really good. They can excel at both.
yeah,
So when you need them to be one or the other, they can do that. You need them to switch, they can do that. And I know that because the first time they met, John Cena and Hunter was aligned with the McMahon family. This was all the
yeah,
way back in 2006. Okay,
yeah,
that's not the right word. He wasn't so much aligned as they had a common enemy. Because for
yeah,
those that remember, Hunter Hemsley pre 2006 getting back with Shawn Michaels, pre 2006 2007 getting back with Shawn Michaels for their latest incarnation as
yeah,
DX. He and Shawn Michaels did not like each other either. He threw him through a
no,
window.
yeah,
But and who else didn't like Shawn Michaels? Was the McMahon family, because
yeah,
do we have to? I mean, I think everyone knows the story.
yeah.
So the
Because
first
of
time,
a certain point in 1997.
yes. So the first time, John Cena and Triple H met like really on TV.
Yeah,
John Cena got DQ'd in 2 seconds because he was teaming with Shawn Michaels facing Shane McMahon,
Yeah.
and Triple H. And Vince McMahon was at ringside, and he was like, "Oh, you attacked Shane. Shane wasn't a legal man. You're DQ'd. Bye, out of here. Adios." And then
Yeah.
that turned into a handicap match with Shawn versus Shane and Hunter. I don't really
Mhm.
know what John meant. It's been a while since I've seen that, but that's what I remember.
Yeah.
And then they met at what was it? WrestleMania 22, 2006.
Yeah.
Cena won.
Which
And
is a great match, by the way.
yes. And the thing
That night in Detroit was
that was
that
special.
entrance of Cena driving the Mustang through the glass and all that. That is like iconic
Mhm.
with two eyes.
Yes. And then throughout the years, they had many more matches, except they were both faces. How do
Yeah.
you do that? You have a guy they both hate. You have a guy that everyone hates. We've talked about him already.
Yeah.
You have, well, actually, you have two guys that we've already talked about. You have the radar superstar and the legend killer. You give both
Yeah.
guys someone they hate, and then you like go have triple threat matches until
Yeah.
no one wants to see you anymore, essentially.
Yeah. It was go away heat, as they call it.
Yes. Because okay, this show has jumped around a lot, but I'm gonna say this.
Yeah.
Everybody is experiencing this right now.
Mm.
Something works once.
Yeah.
It will not work 100th time. Once. I'm going to talk about AEW too, although John Cena doesn't really have anything to
Yeah.
do with AEW.
Even though he has a wipeout commercial, but
yes. But promoters, they're either too quick on the draw or too slow.
Yeah.
We wanted to see more MJF Cody back in 2019. We thought
Yeah.
those guys should have rematched. We want to see more King Punk. You know who we didn't want to see more of? Matt Hardy and Orange Cassidy.
yeah.
Like,
Granted, we love both those guys.
yes. We want to see more John Cena, Brock Lesnar. We want
Yeah.
to see more Triple H and Lesnar too, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know who we didn't want to see more of? John Cena and Randy Orton. That feud was like 10 years long.
Yeah. And there's one match at Royal Rumble 2014 that I remember where they do each other's finishes and they kick out and it's the whole thing.
Yeah, but my point is that they had a lot of matches. And that's why I put him on the graphic too, is that he did bring out a different side of John Cena.
Yeah.
Because while John Cena was on the ascent, Triple H had his place right there. And that is not a dynamic besides The Rock, but The Rock is a different story. That's not really a dynamic because like most of the guys that John Cena feuded with either came right around the same time, Randy Orton, a little bit before Edge, or after him, Punk. But Triple H was the old guard.
Yeah, he was Attitude Era to its core.
Yes, and
he exuded everything that was during the Attitude Era around that time. Like, even probably if you ask like a kid version of ourselves, we would have probably told you, who would you see if you would have asked us, who do you see that was during the Attitude Era? We'd probably say Triple H.
Yes, Triple H had his own. Triple H was, I don't want to say the man, but
full of nostalgia. Let's just say that.
Yes. Sorry, give me a second. But oh yeah, so yeah, that also brought a different dynamic because Triple H was not going to give up the seat to John Cena. Triple H was not going to give up the seat to Batista. Triple H liked his seat.
Very much. If 2004 wasn't a good example.
Yes, the Reign of Terror, which again should probably be its own episode.
Yeah.
But John Cena was becoming popular. So Vince was like, "Hey, Hunter, how would you like to be DX again? And John Cena can beat all these guys." And Hunter was like, All right, cool. And so that kind of ended that saga. They did meet up again, and
Yeah,
very
later on.
sure in a decade later, almost a decade later, the first match was April 2nd, 2006. The last match was April 27th, 2016. So that's kind of a nice bookend, I would say,
Yeah,
even though I don't like that event that they last appeared. But that's a whole
yeah.
nother issue. Um,
But WWE likes to do that. They've done it
yes.
for many years now.
Yes. So any thoughts on Triple H and John Cena?
I'll just say this: Triple H around that time, like you could see, you could kind of see where he was going, like corporately. You like the corporate started to come in and out every once in a while.
Remember the
Like it wasn't
haircut? Remember when
like
he
it.
shaved his head?
Yeah, but before that,
Oh,
you
okay.
you saw you saw it starting to happen every once in a while. Like you'd see him, especially around like 2009, 2010, where he really like post DX 2.0, like really started to ramp up. Like I'm starting to follow in my father-in-law's footsteps, and like he's starting to wear more suits, and
Yeah.
he's starting to go
He
to
kept the
more
humor though.
events,
I,
and
I I would say he kept the humor, especially in the fuse with Edge.
yeah,
Like he kept the humor, but like he was it's not bad because John Cena we know is corporate and Triple H
yeah,
was becoming corporate too. Um well that was Triple H. Now let's talk about the feud with the million matches.
yeah,
OVW4. We talked about one.
yeah.
We're going to talk about the another one in a little bit. I mean, for a little bit because it was
Because
also
we already talked about the two others.
yeah. Randall, Keith, Orton.
Orton.
Do you want to start with this one? Like it was. What can we
I'll
say about this that hasn't already been said?
I'll just preface this. Randy Orton. That's my dog barking. Don't worry about that. He he
We got on him.
howls.
Yes,
He
dog
howls
on
like
him.
Randy Orton all day. I'll just preface this. Randy Orton has had one hell of a career himself. And to me, I would say out of all the Ortons that have been in wrestling, I would say he has the more successful career, and even the more successful career out of the legacy group. I would say,
I
yeah,
don't think that's a
granted,
disagreement. I don't think anyone would disagree because, like, we love. Okay, we don't love Cody, but here we don't hate him as much as other people.
yeah, we don't slander
Cody
Cody
Rhodes, but
or
also
Brandy,
like
which by the way, Brandy is gonna have a show soon, and very
yes.
pumped about that.
And Cody is running at WrestleMania. That's happening, right? In blood.
Yeah,
But anyway, back to Randall Orton.
yeah.
Um,
Back to Randy Orton. I just
um,
want to say this:
as always,
their
I'm
feud was
yes.
long, kept going on and off. It was basically like a frigging 15-year relationship, basically. It was
Yes.
going on and off, and nothing was really working. And then
Yeah, they would fight, and then would fight, and then someone else would get one of those
yeah,
attentions. They would go off, and then they'd be like, "Oh, hey, I know you. Let's fight." You know what the perfect thing
yeah,
is? John Cena and Randy Orton, they were the faces at the time,
yeah,
and
for
it was
sure.
during the Nexus era.
I was about to mention that
Yeah,
Orton was involved in this Nexus story.
yeah. But also they were trying to attack the Nexus with a bunch of other faces, and then the
Yeah,
heels they were feuding with, attacked them. And so John's like, "I'm sorry. don't you guys hate the Nexus too? And then I think it was Sheamus who said, yeah, but we hate you guys more. And then Sheamus also said, you and your new best friend, Randy Orton or whatever. I forgot. Oh, maybe it was Edge. I could be wrong. It was Edge,
Yeah,
Chris Jericho, or
it was Edge.
yeah, sorry. And then
Edge and Chris Jericho.
yeah, and Randy got on the mic and was just like, we are not friends unless we have to. That's the case where we have to. But yeah, that's a perfect example of their friendship. Like even when they're faces, they're still there. Do I trust you? No. Do you trust me? No. We have the common enemy. Let's go.
Yeah.
But yes, their feud was long. Like even I hated it. I didn't hate anything in wrestling at the time, but even I was like,
yeah.
I
was okay with it because I like both of the guys. But overall, it was long, hard. But granted, damn it, was it historical?
Yes. Oh, also another quick thing I want to add. Not a quick thing. We're still going to talk about this more.
Yeah.
2006.
They were a big year for both of them.
Well, yeah, but they were part of the house. They weren't really on TV that much, but they were part of the house show circuit where you had DX, Shawn Michaels, and Triple H who were feuding with RKO, which was Edge and Randy Orton. And then you had John Cena who was feuding with Omega, and there were a lot of 6-man. But also, I forgot to mention this earlier. But you know who else had a lot of house show matches? Brock Lesnar and John Cena. Like back in 03, 04, like those two guys, they were on every house show facing each other for the world title. Yeah. John Cena never won it, but
of course, because that was prime of the Here Comes the Pain era and all that stuff for Brock. And Brock now, who rarely works house shows. Even when he makes an appearance,
at Madison Square.
Just bonkers.
Yes. Also, another interesting note to add is that, we talked about they had 1,000,001 matches.
Just about, yeah.
Yeah. Their first 2 matches ended in DQ. The first 2 1-on-1 matches. Their third match ended in a no contest. So their first quote unquote clean match was SummerSlam 2007. Cena beats Orton because.
Who else?
Yes, but also and I want to get your thoughts on this too. I put these two together because obviously it's one of Cena's most iconic feuds. But I think,
even though it was very long,
yes, but I think it also highlights this is the last prototype feud, in my opinion. This was good guy, bad guy. This was they both had their own characters, but this was just like, I'm a good guy, you're a bad guy.
Yeah, this was the final, like post prototype big feud, like that really made Cena who he is.
Yes, because
what I was trying to say is that he was able to obviously get to those titles, and Randy's getting there too, which I wouldn't be surprised if he gets there. But Randy's one of these guys that's very reliable on both sides, and that literal they were I'm gonna give an example, a sports example, they were the Sidney Crosby and Alex Ovechkin of pro wrestling at that time.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, I get you. They were because the point I was gonna make is that most of the feuds that Cena had after Orton, it was something else. It wasn't good guy, bad guy. Punk was it was corporate guy versus down with the corporation, I guess. I don't want to say anarchist, but
essentially.
Yeah.
It was the anti-establishment guy.
Yes, that's against, the word. Yeah.
Against
the
corporate soldier.
Yes, Brock was this hustle. loyalty, respect guy versus I'm just here to make money. I don't know what you want from me. You leave
Yeah,
me alone, I'll leave you alone. I just want money. And Cena was like, no. And then The Rock was, well, we'll get to The Rock.
yeah. We'll get to that because we're gonna
Yes.
talk a little more in depth next week.
Yes. So I guess there's the shield. Should we talk about the shield? The shield was
Yeah,
also great
we can mention
because
that.
the shield goes into the next feud
Yeah,
on the list.
yeah,
I think everyone knows it's one of the most iconic. It's probably the best group besides maybe the New Day
yeah,
in recent times.
for sure.
Seth
And
Rollins, Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns. We will talk about Roman later because like it was
it
technically I want to say
it's technically involved in what we're gonna talk about later.
yeah because
It's in the lineal.
yeah because like
Stuff.
Roman in my opinion is probably Cena's last feud in WWE.
Yeah,
Um,
at least until maybe he Theory gets the Cena match he's wanted for years.
Well,
Which
see.
who knows?
But yeah, but John Cena and CM Punk that
Yeah.
that feud sparked a revolution in wrestling, and you know
Oh,
that because Cody Rhodes pointed it out.
he pointed it out before going back,
Yes,
which is so funny to me.
yes, we'll talk about that when he actually comes back because like I've heard enough Cody Rhodes talk for to last me a lifetime.
Yeah.
But CM Punk, I don't. CM Punk might even know what he's doing. He's also like we talk about smart guys to
Yeah.
business. CM Punk is smart.
Yeah, he knows
Yes. So
what
CM,
he knows, like he knew where he was at in Ring of Honor. He knew where he was at this point. He knows where he's at now. He knows, especially now. I'll give an example to now, and now, like the he's known as the veteran, like the old guy essentially. Like
yes. Yeah,
he's
but
now become like
yes.
the elder statesman of pro wrestling, and
He's one of can you imagine that? Like I know we talked about it a little before when we talked about
yeah,
tag teams, but CM Punk, Mr. I'm gonna slap you because I don't like you, I don't respect you, and I'm gonna slap you. He hated Ricky Steamboat. Who hates Ricky Steamboat?
yeah,
But yeah, but now he is the elder state. He's now one of the elder statesmen. He's one of those guys
yeah.
that like is
He's
like.
in that Harley race spot now.
What did he say to Max? He said, "You need to remember the lessons you've been taught." But
Yeah,
yeah, back to CM Punk sitting cross-legged on a stage as John Cena was in a position we don't know.
was
Well,
lying there.
yes, and he gave probably one of the most famous speeches in wrestling in the last 20 years because
Oh, for sure.
I don't care what you think about CM Punk. If you don't think the guy can talk, then I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. To me, that the pipe bomb, as we like to call it now, is was definitely influential. CM Punk has gone on record in saying that he knows the gravity of what his promo that night meant. He knew. I'm not saying that he felt like the quote unquote revolution that Cody was talking about, but I agree 100% that that promo was that tiny little spark
The light,
that lit this fire of where wrestling is today.
because he was right. Like I don't care what you think. CM Punk was right. CM Punk has always been
100%. He
right.
was 100% right. This dude, like, granted, if it was a shoot or a work or both, he said facts.
Yes, and also, we talked about it with Brock, but this let Cena establish a new side of himself.
Oh,
This wasn't
100%.
Cena. This wasn't Cena going to Vince McMahon saying, "Okay, Mr. McMahon, whatever you want, Mr. McMahon." This man went to Vince McMahon and was like, "Give him the match, or I quit." Well, he didn't say I quit, but
He
like,
basically said he was gonna walk onto TNA.
Yes, he was just like, give him that match, or we're done. And Vince was like, fine, you want the match? You're responsible. Because the point was that Punk was going to walk out. This was a somewhat Punk.
Yeah,
Punk was
this
done.
was, to me, I think the 2011 promo, like that whole, even that entire like summer of Punk, to me was like the more successful summer of Punk. It,
We'll talk
even
about.
though like last year was definitely a successful win as well, but I think in terms of before that, if you pick between 05 and 11, 11 would mean more, I would think.
Oh, five Punk oh five Summer of Punk didn't have Triple H versus Kevin Nash in a match not involving CM Punk, but we'll talk about that in another episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, so pretty much it was like the anti-establishment. Like CM Punk hated Vince McMahon. CM
Yeah.
Punk and Triple H
Which
never
is
liked each
very
other.
clear to this day.
Yes, that's probably a shoot too. CM Punk and Triple H is hated against each other.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it
and
was
it was
definitely Phil
yes,
Brooks talking to Paul Levesque.
yes, and John Cena with his establishment
Yeah.
corporate guy look, and yeah, and also one other note I want to make on this. Do you know what the last match was? Because Punk was a face around this time. Do you know what the last match was? The last one-on-one match, I should say. He wasn't a face at this
Uh
time, but by the time he left, he was a face, is my point. After a little bit after this. I'll give you a hint.
probably
Pile driver.
oh, that match.
Their last one-on-one match was probably one of the most legendary matches in the last 10 years that happened on Raw.
Definitely. Punk is known for his last few years in WWE where he'd have these great TV matches, which granted he still does today in AEW. But Punk at the time he just wanted to show up and show out and show all out, even like if it was a TV match, because that at that point he was still feeling the momentum of the summer of Punk, I think.
Mm-hmm. This was his 23rd. So this was, yeah, he wasn't full blown face, but like this was
Mhm.
around the time he was starting to like become a face. And you know
Yeah,
that because like after him and Cena teamed up together against the Shield, who were like
yeah,
the bad guy. Oh,
yeah,
also, I just to go back, sorry, I forgot about this.
yeah.
You want to know the last Cena Orton match, one-on-one match?
That Rumble match.
It was the match that they went out of feud for. It was when Randy Orton was
Oh,
in the Wyatt family.
so that's right.
Yeah, because
Around
like
that time.
yes, because Randy Orton was trying to be in the Wyatt family. Luke Harper was coming out, so Luke Harper got John Cena to help him, and those two guys, I mean those four guys, Bray, Randy versus Luke and John was a tag team match, and then
Yeah,
John and Randy faced off together because John was like, "What is this? What is happening? Why are you with them?" And then he was like,
yeah.
"I found my way, and that way is I'm going to destroy Bray Wyatt. So I need you to shut up."
And burn his house.
Yes, but no, but Cena beat Orton in their last match,
Mhm.
because we all love Cena,
Yeah.
but no one is surprised.
Yeah, no one remembers,
Yeah,
sadly. But
and
also shout out to 2016 SmackDown. Like that was
oh,
fun.
that was legendary.
Like
2006.
I think we need to have a whole episode of just talking about that the SmackDown Live era,
Dean
because
as
that was
champion.
a beast in itself.
Yes. Oh yeah. So, any final thoughts on Punk versus Cena?
I'll just say this one word: legendary.
Okay, this is might be controversial, I'm not sure. But for as much as Cena needed Punk, not sure we get the Punk that we love now without this John Cena feud. Because like we all know what
100%.
Punk could be, but like he wasn't really that on TV yet.
Yeah.
He was
He
still like
needed
straight edge.
someone
Yes. Yes.
like to combat with like Cena was like the prototypical WWE conglomerate,
Yeah.
and Punk was still that indie darling that everyone loved and still
Yes.
loves to this day. And to me, like this was perfect. Like this was perfect WWE versus indie story.
Yes. Because it was a real life and not real
Yeah,
life. Like they didn't hate each other in real life, but this
but
was
the corporate
Vince's.
versus Punk.
Yeah, this was Vince's actual thoughts versus CM Punk, a guy who Vince was pretty much was the embodiment of everything Vince did not like.
Yeah,
Because like this isn't a secret. I think everybody knows.
yeah,
CM Punk does not get hired if Paul Heyman isn't in Vince McMahon's ear at that point. And Paul
100%.
left because he couldn't stand Vince McMahon. So
Yeah,
if Paul Heyman never was there, CM Punk isn't there. Guess who else
yeah.
isn't there?
Punk would have probably went back to TNA, maybe.
Yeah, guess who else isn't there? Brian Danielson. Guess who else isn't there? Roddy Strong. Guess who
Yeah,
else? Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly. Um, who else? The AJ Styles
yeah,
probably never shows up. Finn Balor,
yeah,
Nakamura. Punk started this whole indie thing, and it was because
yeah,
Paul Heyman made his choice.
yeah.
Okay.
And damn it, did he made a right choice?
Yes. Paul Heyman got his man, and that was
Yeah,
it. But this is not about CM Punk. We will talk about CM Punk later.
yeah.
We will talk about a lot of these guys later. This is about John Cena. And since I know you want to talk about the spinner belt, I'm gonna let you.
Oh man, spinner belt. So I'm gonna bring up a story from when I was a kid. So when I was like, I want to say 8 or 9 years old, like I was like super Cena fan, like especially a super WWE fan. Like I was full, full jam pack WWE guy. Like WWE was everything, and like I wanted the merch. I wanted, I wanted like the wristbands and everything, and then, but the spinner belt, like I wanted that for my birthday one year. So I asked my parents like if I wanted one or whatever, and then they were like, they were like, yeah, okay, maybe we'll see. And then our birthday rolled around, and I think it was I came into my room, and I looked like I think right behind me, like right behind me, right over there, and I found a UFC heavyweight championship instead of a spinner. And I went, the fuck is that? I literally, I literally went out of my room, told my parents about this, and they were like, isn't that what you wanted? And I was like, no, I wanted a WWE championship, not a not a stupid UFC championship. Like I hated MMA at this point. Like at this point, like I absolutely hated MMA at this point, especially UFC. Like I did not want to do anything with MMA. And then I ended up not having one. Like I kept the UFC belt. I was like, I guess I gotta keep it. So kept it in here for years. And then I think once I switched rooms, I lost the fucking belt.
And
So
now you're a UFC fan.
yeah, I eventually came around thanks to friggin' Chuck Liddell and Brock. But at that time, I I was absolutely disgusted by the fact that I had a UFC championship instead of a spinner belt. Like I was obsessed
Nice.
with that belt. Like
Nice.
I wanted that belt. And granted, I still want that belt, but now I gotta pay $500 for it. Which jeez. I'll get one eventually.
This
Just
thing, yeah.
if it goes down like maybe a few $100.
Maybe, hopefully. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Let's hope WWE shop. Okay, if you
There's a
would
sale.
please.
Maybe in John Cena's retirement tour, because I assume he's going to have like a run.
Yeah, one last like maybe year run, which we'll get into a little bit.
Yeah. You know who else wants a year run? A man by the name of Dwayne Johnson. Well, okay, he doesn't want a year run. He said he's open
Yeah,
to the possibility of a year run.
yeah.
Um,
And I think Edge and them coming back kind of fueled him that. But he's always said he's always
yeah.
wanted to wrestle Roman and
Oh yeah, but like he talked about Chris Van's lead. He was just like, I was supposed to come back for 3 matches. I came back for 3 years. So like honestly, whatever Vince wants to do, I'm fine with it.
yeah.
But Dwayne was, and the reason I bring up The Rock is because his first comeback, well, not his
Mm-hmm.
first comeback, but like
But
after
the original comeback after
yes,
all the movie success.
yes.
Which, by the way, shout out to Race to Witch Mountain
Oh, I love that
and all
movie.
that and all that
Yes, The
and
Tooth
all
Fairy was
that
also a good
era
movie. Game
of rock
Plan,
movies.
yes, Game Plan, Tooth Fairy, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, he came back.
and his guest spot on Wizards of Waverly Place. I have that episode memorized almost. Like I can see that. Like just thinking about it.
Yeah, but he came back and he was the guest host of WrestleMania,
Yeah,
where John Cena was about to face a guy by the name of Miz, and like we will talk about Miz in a little bit because like
yeah,
he's also an important figure in John
yeah,
Cena's history, I would say. But Rock and John Cena did not like each other.
yeah.
There's no other way for me to put that. The Rock thought John
It
Cena wasn't fit to lace his boots. Cena thought Rock should just go back to Hollywood. So
it
those
was
two,
literally old. It was literally the Punk and MJF story, but in a different company in a different era.
yeah. What else? Oh yeah, but yeah. So they just didn't like each other, and so it was just like I think like after WrestleMania that year when after Cena Miz had their match,
Mm-hmm.
John was like, next year you and me WrestleMania,
Yeah,
and like that's what happened. It was like once in a lifetime that became twice in a lifetime.
yeah.
Um,
But
yeah.
we'll review that once in a lifetime match next week.
Yeah, so we're not going to talk too much into it, but like,
But we'll preface this: it's a good match.
yes, but John Cena and The Rock they only had 2 single matches together, but you
Yeah,
can say they were rivals because one was like we talked about with Triple H. One was like
yeah,
the star of the past, like the main
mm-hmm.
star of the past was the main star of the present.
Yeah. Like like when you think of WWE in the early 2010s, you think of John Cena.
Yes, and when you think of the Attitude Era and like that time period, you probably think of
90%
The Rock.
chance it'll be The Rock.
Yes. But yeah, any thoughts about this match, feud, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. Well, I'll just say this: the first time was better than the other time.
Yeah. because I think Rock still had something to prove back then. Like it was just like I want to
Yeah,
go out on a high, but like while the second time he was just like, yeah, maybe I'll stick around a little bit. So that's why he wasn't like I don't want to take anything
yeah.
away from The Rock. The Rock was still amazing after being out of the business for
Mhm.
like a decade. But yeah, that
Yeah.
was The Rock and
He
John
still
Cena.
came back every once in a while after as well.
He became champion after that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
after the first match. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, Rock and John Cena.
Mhm.
And now, last but not least, we have The Miz, we have Batista,
Mhm.
we have Johnny L, and we have you want to do
Yeah,
it?
yeah, JBL. We
No,
have
no, 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 no.
so
Not
so
JBL.
we
We have Rusev. That's why I asked
yes.
if you do you want to do the song? Or
Rusev Kudrya, Rusev Machka.
I meant Rusev Day.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that's what I think. But anyway,
But I'll just preface this. That era of Miro was something special.
yeah.
Like he was a beast.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll talk about Cena's US run after because it's integral to where he is now. And but I'll say this: Miro as US champion
Was a
was
beast.
yeah,
But
and
also, yes.
everyone on Twitter and Instagram around that time was talking about Miro and saying how like, oh,
Rusev, but
Rusev's gonna be
yes.
WWE champion. Rusev,
Rusev should have been.
yeah, and like that the duo of Rusev and Lana was killer, man.
Yeah.
Like these two, before the whole thing with Dolph and
Okay,
WWE
we don't
legend
have to talk
Summer
about
Rae.
that. Yeah, we don't have
But
to talk about that.
I'll preface this: that era was fun, and Cena winning at WrestleMania 31 was kind of predictable. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. What else? Oh yeah, and also the Miz. The Miz play another part because,
Yeah,
like, say what you want of that guy's wrestling, he was still very entertaining back in 2011.
yeah,
So,
dude won the title with a concussion. Like
Yeah, Miz dressing
not
up as The Rock was fun.
yeah, Miz winning the title at WrestleMania during the whole thing with The Rock and John Cena with a concussion. I would say it is arguably like really cool.
Yes.
Like winning
And
something under a concussion and like barely remembering shit after, but waking up the next day with the WWE title must be like a fever dream.
yes.
Like to wake up with the WWE title next to you and you realize the hell happened. Like
Definitely.
that must be a weird feeling.
Yes. What we're trying to say is that Cena had a lot of good rivals, and they all
Yeah.
brought out something in him that we
Mm-hmm.
might not have seen with other rivals. Because the Miz was very annoying.
It still is.
Yes, yes. But yeah, he like brought aside Kane, brought aside of John
Yeah.
Cena because Kane was like embrace the hate and all that other fun
Mm-hmm.
stuff we don't have to get into.
We mentioned a little bit at the top of the show.
Yes. So my final question is top the CM John Cena rivalries.
Punk, Orton, Rock.
Punk, Orton, Cena for me. I mean, Punk, Orton, Edge for me. But although Cena was is another thing. But yeah,
Yeah, that's a 2K22 thing that
yes, yes. Which we will hopefully bring to this channel eventually, but we'll
yeah,
see about that. But
we're
we've
building some
talked,
content right now, but
yes, we've talked about John Cena for probably around 2 hours at this
yeah,
point. So I think that does it about this episode. As always,
just about. I just want to mention, first of all, like an honorable mention, that should be an episode in itself. The Cena's US Open Challenge era,
Yes.
like I said, should be an episode in itself. It to me was the funnest time I've ever had as a fan post learning about the indies.
Yes. Also, speaking of the indies, someone else I forgot that I'm going to kick myself because they're on my Mount Rushmore. Beat up John Cena. AJ Styles and John Cena was awesome too.
Yeah, that whole like thing with Gallows and Anderson and like the beat of John Cena,
That was
just
great. That was
it
great
was
TV.
everything, man. Like,
Yes. But Will AJ Styles is another episode on its own, I think. Like a lot of these guys have a lot of.
for sure.
So, but for now, we're going to sign off. As always, I'm Daniel. That's Sam. You can find me at DJ Wrestling Fan. You can find Sam at.
Sam Depp Wrestle. And
We're
you
out.
can find the pod at Squared Post Pod. And
Yes. Like, comment, and subscribe.
yeah, punch that notification bell so you don't miss an upload here. And as always, see ya.
We're out.